You sit down to finally do the thing. You open your laptop, you work on the business, you send the email, you start the habit that you've been talking about for months. 10 minutes later, you're on your phone, you're suddenly hungry, you remember something urgent that has to be done first. An hour disappears, the day disappears, the week disappears, and then the month ends up disappearing as well. And you're left with that familiar mix of shame and frustration. What's wrong with me? Why can't I just start? You tell yourself that you're lazy, undisciplined, not serious, and maybe even broken. But here's what I want you to consider. What if your procrastination is not a character flaw at all? What if it's a survival response that your nervous system learned a long time ago and it's running the show in the background? If you're someone who knows exactly what you need to do but still doesn't do it, if you delay until the last minute and then hate yourself, if the pattern is so old you're almost numb to it, then this video is for you. In this video, I want to show you why you're not lazy, you're actually frozen. We're going to talk about how trauma, especially complex trauma, wires your system for freeze and functional freeze, how that shows up as procrastination in adult life, and the first steps to thawing it so you can move forward again. If you watched the last two videos on self-sabotage and the good child shadow, and they resonated, make sure you're subscribed. This whole series is designed to give you a map of your inner world so you stop fighting yourself and start understanding yourself. Let's start with something that science is very clear about. When humans feel threatened, we don't just fight or run. There's another survival response called freeze. And that's when your system decides, I can't win this, I can't escape this. So the safest thing to do is to shut down, play dead, or disappear. In the context of trauma, especially prolonged childhood stress, freeze stops being a rare emergency reaction and starts becoming a default pattern. Over time, your nervous system learns that stillness equals safety. Not making a move feels safer than making the wrong move. Fast forward to the adult you. Starting a task, on the surface, it's just an email, a video, a conversation, a new project, but underneath, your whole body is scanning it for a threat. What if I fail and get humiliated? What if I succeed and people expect more of me? What if I'm judged, rejected, criticized, or abandoned? Your brain isn't weighing that task like a neutral to-do list item. It's weighing effort, reward, and threat. If the threat feels high because it reminds you of past criticism, punishment, or overwhelm, your amygdala, which is your brain's alarm system, lights up, and your body does what it learns to do. It freezes. Freeze in real life doesn't always look dramatic. Most of the time it looks like procrastination. You sit down to start and your mind goes blank. You feel heavy, sleepy, foggy. Your attention slides off task. You suddenly need to clean the kitchen, scroll your phone, check something important, and you tell yourself, I'll do it later when I feel more ready. That's not you being flaky. That's your nervous system saying, I don't feel safe here. I need to escape or shut down. There's even a term for the way many trauma survivors live: functional freeze. Outwardly, you're functioning. You go to work, you reply to messages, you handle basic life admin. Inwardly, you feel stuck, numb, exhausted, like there's an invisible wall between you and the things that actually matter to you. It might show up as chronic indecision, feeling tired anytime you want to do something meaningful, going blank when you think about long-term plans, endless planning and researching with no action. So when you call yourself lazy, you're actually insulting a nervous system that has been working overtime to protect you. Let me give you an example. Imagine a kid who grows up in a house where any mistake, spilling something, getting a question wrong, forgetting a chore results in screaming, threats, violence, or shame. Maybe that kid tried to take the initiative a few times and got punished for it. Maybe they expressed a preference and were mocked. Maybe they spoke up and it caused an explosion. The lesson that kid learns is not try your best and learn from your mistakes. The lesson is, if I act, I get hurt. If I show myself, I get punished. If I make decisions, I get it wrong and everyone suffers. So what's the safest strategy in that environment? Do nothing. Don't decide. Don't initiate. Don't stand out. Wait to be told. Freeze. That strategy might have genuinely kept them safer as a child. But right now, that same pattern is running when you want to create a business, change careers, set boundaries, or do anything that feels exposed. The task in front of you is not just a task. It's a mirror that shows your nervous system's old scenes. The look on someone's face when you've disappointed them. the sound of someone yelling, the violence or threat of violence, the feeling of being humiliated. Your body remembers what your mind rationalizes away. So how do you work with this? The first shift is compassionate understanding, not as a cliche, but as a hard reset of how you interpret your behavior. Instead of "I'm lazy" or "I'm undisciplined," try "part of me feels unsafe doing this, and my system is freezing to protect me." That doesn't mean you should give up. It means you stop trying to bully yourself into action with shame. Research is clear. Chronic shame and self-criticism actually make procrastination worse because they increase stress and threat perception. The more you scare yourself, the more your system wants to freeze. The second step is to learn how to spot your freeze instead of only noticing the aftermath. The next time you sit down to do something important and you feel that familiar drift away, pause and ask yourself, what am I feeling in my body right now? Is it heavy, buzzy, tight, foggy? What am I afraid might happen if I actually do this? You might hear thoughts like, if I start and it's bad, I'll prove that I'm not good enough. If I succeed, people will expect more and I'll disappoint them later. If I put myself out there, my family or the general public will judge me. Those thoughts might sound dramatic when you say them out loud, but they're often quietly running in the background. Naming them pulls them out of the shadows. The third step is the nervous system upregulation, gently bringing a more life and energy into a body that's trying to shut down. When you freeze, what you don't need is to sit there staring at a screen calling yourself names. You also don't need to chug caffeine and force yourself. You need to send your body a signal that we're safe enough to move. So here's a few steps that to do under 2 minutes. Look around the room slowly. Let your eyes land on different objects. This orients your brain to be present instead of being an old danger scene. Stand up, shake out your arms and legs, bounce gently on your feet. I know this looks crazy, but it works. Movement tells the nervous system we're not trapped. Take 5 to 10 deep breaths where the exhale is longer than the inhale. For example, in for 4, out for 6 or 8. That longer exhale activates the part of the nervous system that calms you down. These aren't productivity hacks, they're safety signals. The fourth step is to shrink the task until your system can handle it. When you're in freeze, write the business plan or record the 20-minute video is just way too big. Your brain tags it as overwhelming and you'll shut down. Research shows that procrastination is deeply linked to how our brain weighs the emotional cost of a task. If it feels too big or threatening, we bail. So instead of asking, how do I finish this? Ask, what is the smallest next step that doesn't feel terrifying? That might be open the laptop and the document, write a terrible first sentence, set up the camera and record 60 seconds, not 20 minutes, outline 3 bullet points instead of a whole article. And then this is important, you allow yourself to stop after that tiny step if you need to, not as an avoidance, but as a way of showing your system that, see, we've moved and nothing bad has happened. What tends to happen is that once you've started, momentum kicks in and you can do more. But even if you don't, you're training your nervous system to associate action with manageable discomfort instead of annihilation. Sometimes you're not doing something because your nervous system is terrified. Sometimes you're not doing it because it's not aligned, but your good child programming says that you should. Part of the deep inner work is getting brutally honest about which is which. So ask yourself, if other people's expectations weren't in the equation, would I still want this? If the answer is a clear no, that's not a freeze to push through, that's a life to realign. If the answer is yes, that's where the work matters. I want to give you one simple experiment to try after this video. Pick one meaningful task that you've been putting off, not the entire life overhaul, but just one thing. Finish a page, send an email, outline a video, or make a phone call. Before you start, pause and notice your body. Name the sensations, name any fears that arise. Do 60 to 120 seconds of upregulating, look around, shake, breathe with a longer exhale. Commit to 5 minutes of action, set a timer. Don't aim to finish, just aim to start. When the timer goes off, pause again and notice how you feel. You can choose to continue or stop consciously. This is not about becoming a productivity machine, it's about building trust with your own nervous system. Every time you show your nervous system, we can move a little bit and survive, you weaken the association between action and threat. Over time, that's how freeze starts to thaw. I want you to really hear this. You're not lazy. You're not doomed to live in this loop forever. Your brain and body adapted to an environment that taught them action, visibility, and making mistakes were dangerous. They're still trying to keep you alive using old data. The work we're doing here, through shadow, through nervous system work, through honest reflection, is about updating that data. It's about teaching your system that you're not that powerless child anymore. You have choices now. You can take small risks, you can tolerate discomfort, and you can move. If this video resonated, I want you to drop a comment with this sentence and then complete it for yourself. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this with someone who calls themselves lazy, but you know that there's more to it. And remember, your stuckness is not your identity, it's a state, and states can change. Till next time.